Hey, howdy guys, this is Dave, and we are spiraling directly into another Choose Your Own Adventure reading. This one is called Master of Kung Fu. This is number 88 in this series. The copyright is 1989. I did briefly skim the first couple pages, and I just wanted to give you a heads up that there is definitely some broken English in here, and it goes without saying, I am not going to be attempting any Chinese accents. That would simply offend everybody, including me. I would also like to take the opportunity to apologize in advance for any words I mispronounce. And without further ado, here we go. You can hardly believe it. It's the first time you've ever flown. And here you are, on a jumbo jet thousands of feet above the Pacific Ocean, on your way to China. Your best friend Billy is seated next to you. Thanks to him, you'll be spending this month of your summer vacation in China. Billy's a martial arts nut. His Kung Fu school arranged a tour of China for his martial arts class, and you managed to talk your parents into letting you come too, even though you haven't been studying Kung Fu. Billy spends most of the flight telling you about China and Kung Fu. The Shaolin Temple in central China is where Kung Fu all started, Billy says excitedly, filling the air with Kung Fu and karate chops. Turn to page 11. Another really interesting thing about China, Japan, and the Orient is the ninja. Billy tells you as he pulls out a book and points to a picture. The ninjas spent years training to become assassins. They were masters of Kung Fu and all the other martial arts too. They also knew how to use a lot of different weapons, poison, trickery, disguise, hypnotism, and even magic. Are we going to meet ninja on the tour, you ask? Of course not, says Billy, playfully punching your arm. Man, you ever know somebody like that? Someone that's just always beating the crap out of you and you're just like, stop it. That's all ancient history. There aren't any ninja anymore. Finally, exhausted from talking, you lie back in your seat and daydream about the Great Wall of China, the Forbidden City, the Imperial Palace, and even panda bears. Please fasten your seatbelts, says the flight attendant, gently shaking your arm. We're about to land. You lean toward the window and look for Shanghai Airport and see the city below you. A river lined with large buildings snakes through the center of it. You brace yourself and cross your fingers as the plane touches down. With a squeal of the brakes, it comes to a stop. Turn to page 9. You and Billy leave the plane and enter a modern airport terminal. Officials check your passports as you move through customs. Then you exchange your American money for some strange-looking Chinese money called yuan. Outside the terminal, you hail a red flag taxi. It looks like a large 1950s Buick, but it's actually made in China. You Americans? The driver, who is wearing a New York Yankees baseball cap, asks you. I speak very good English. Where to, boss? Billy looks at the piece of paper the travel agent gave him back home. The Peace Hotel on Nanjing Road, he says. Hun ho, says the driver. Peace Hotel. Very good. You grip the edge of your seat as the cab speeds away from the airport and towards the hub of the city, about 15 miles away. You arrive at a vast checkerboard of low, whitewashed houses and boxy apartment buildings. The taxi barrels around a corner into a honeycomb of narrow streets and screeches to a stop. You stare in amazement at the chaos in the street, thick with bicycles. The riders are all jingling their bicycle bells, and radio loudspeakers blasting from all directions add to the terrific din. Turn to page 3. The cab inches along through the crowd, behind a rumbling trolley car. Is it always like this? You ask the cab driver. Nanjing Road, all the time, very busy, the driver shouts over the din. Many miles long, many shops. Finally, you reach the Peace Hotel. You pay the cab driver with your Chinese yuan and hope he gives you the right change. The tour doesn't begin till tomorrow morning, so after you check into the hotel and drop off your bags, you rush back outside, anxious to explore Shanghai. Billy, his camera slung over his shoulder, studies a street map. There should be a photo shop around here somewhere, he says. I want to find out how long it takes to get film developed. Let's go, you say enthusiastically, fascinated by the hustle and bustle of Shanghai. Turn to page 4. Nanjing Road is still teeming with bicycle riders and people. You are trying to cross the road when Billy is almost run down by a bicycle. As he jumps back, you see someone in the crowd snatch the camera off his shoulder. Hey, stop! Billy shouts and plunges into the crowd after the thief, who is now running down a side street. Wait for me, you yell, but Billy is already out of sight. You push through the crowd, but you've lost him. You run in the direction that Billy and the thief went. You see Billy at the end of the block, across the street, standing in the doorway of a shop. Billy, wait! You shout and wave your hands. Billy stops and turns in your direction at the same time as a trolley car passes in front of you. The trolley passes and he's gone. Turn to page 12. You run to the doorway where Billy was standing. It's the entrance to a photo store. You walk in and look around. It takes a moment for your eyes to adjust to the dim light. You see a wooden shelf lined with cameras. One of them looks like Billy's. You are startled when a small Chinese woman suddenly appears out of the shadows. She is dressed in a blue silk dress with a high collar. You want to buy camera? She asks. No, you answer. I'm looking for my friend. I think he just came in here. No see anyone. Here all time, she says. Disappointed and confused, you return to the hotel, and he doesn't return that night. In the morning, you pack your bag and go to the tour office, hoping that Billy will meet you there. In the office, you see a muscular, middle-aged man looking at a clipboard. You introduce yourself. He shakes your hand vigorously. Hi, I'm Robert Cole. I'm your tour guide. You can call me Bob. Go on to the next page. Glad to meet you, Bob, you say. Can you tell me if Billy Richards has shown up yet? Bob checks his clipboard and shakes his head. Nope, haven't seen him. Bob glances quickly at his watch. All aboard! He yells. You watch in dismay as everyone boards the bus. Can't you wait for him? You ask in desperation. Sorry, can't do that, Bob shrugs apologetically. If we don't leave now, we may miss our connection. Are you coming? And here we are gifted with our first set of choices. My first question here is, where are Billy's parents? I thought that they were on this trip with us. For some reason, I thought the people sitting behind us in that picture on the plane were Billy's parents, and they were just laughing off the fact that he was smacking us around. And I really don't think we're with anyone in his martial arts class. Are we just two 12-year-old boys gallivanting through China right now with no supervision? The poor dude in front of us is like, these motherfuckers. But why aren't Billy's parents aware that Billy is gone? And why haven't I notified anybody if he hasn't shown up at the hotel? What kind of friend am I? So since Billy's parents are nowhere to be found, and I had myself a great night's sleep, I may as well just take matters into my own hands. Our choices here say, if you stay in Shanghai and look for Billy, turn to page 24. If you board the bus and hope Billy will catch up with the tour, turn to page 34. That'd be a dick move if I was just gonna get on this bus and just go ahead and have the vacation without the person that even got me hooked up with it in the first place. So I personally feel obligated to stay in Shanghai and look for Billy, and we're gonna turn to page 24. You watch as the tour bus vanishes into the traffic down the block. You wait at the tour office, hoping that Billy will show up eventually. But after a few hours, you decide to go back to the hotel to check if Billy has left a message for you there. You walk back to the hotel and go to the front desk. Did my friend Billy leave a message for me while I was out? You ask politely. The clerk checks the boxes behind him, but there's nothing there for you. Oh well, you sigh. You'd better hang around in case Billy comes back, you decide. I think I'll stay here for a few more days and join my tour later, you tell the clerk at the front desk. So sorry, hotel booked up. Find you room another place, he says, picking up the phone, making a few phone calls. He writes on a slip of paper, Flowery Hotel, Yangsu Road. You pick up your bag from your room and ask the clerk to keep Billy's suitcase here at the hotel for now. Then you take a cab to the Flowery Hotel. An elderly woman grabs your sleeve as you walk through the doorway. You must be young man Mr. Wu said was coming, the woman says. Turn to page 58. The woman takes you to a small room on the second floor. You're a little disappointed that this room isn't nearly as nice as your room at the other hotel. An old mattress is pushed against one wall with a mosquito net hanging over it. There's also a plain wooden table with 2 chairs in the other corner. Above you, an ancient ceiling fan slowly revolves. "Toilet down the hall," she says as she leaves. You change your clothes and leave the hotel to go look for Billy. As you walk out the front door, a man walks briskly past you. You recognize him immediately. It's the man who stole Billy's camera. Here we go with our next set of choices. If you follow the man, turn to page 45. If you decide to return to the Photoshop, turn to page 48. You know, it's against my better judgment here. It's pretty clear in this book we're little kids, and I don't know what little kid would be going all detective mode like this, or have the ability to. But this is a solid lead that they've thrown our way here, and I think it's a good idea to follow this guy, and we're gonna backflip into page 45. You follow the man. He walks briskly down the street, gliding through the crowd. You have a hard time keeping up. He turns down one side street after another. Soon you are in the poorer and older part of the city. Some of the houses are little more than bamboo shacks. Despite the poverty, you notice that the streets are surprisingly clean. The man increases his pace. You are almost chasing him now. He turns a corner. You race around the corner and run into a courtyard, but it's deserted. The man has disappeared. Turn to page 52. Bewildered and lost, you stand in the dim light of the courtyard. You see several wooden doors with dragons carved into them underneath a long, curving balcony. Suddenly, several of the doors swing open at once. In a flash, you're surrounded by black-robed figures. One of them pulls a knife from beneath his robe and rushes at you, the knife pointing straight at your heart. Turn to page 39. Before you can react to the man with the knife, a piercing cry comes from above as a figure hurls down from one of the balconies. A foot flashes past you, knocking the knife out of the attacker's hand. He snarls like a wounded tiger, turns toward your rescuer, and crouches in a fighting stance. Another lightning kick catches your attacker in the head. He tumbles into a backward somersault, coming up again in a fighting crouch. There is a blur of action as your rescuer spins in the air, and several men fall to the ground, caught by blows that were too fast for you to see. But there are so many against one. A man rushes him with a short spear, but you manage to tackle the spear carrier, and the weapon goes flying into the foot of another man who is about to deliver a kick to the head of your protector. Then your friend gets off a series of fast blows, knocking out several men at once. The attackers seem to have had enough, and they all disappear back through the doors. "Do you speak English?" you ask the stranger, after he's caught his breath. "Little English. Not very good," he answers. "How did you get here?" you ask him. "Follow same man as you," he says. "Why did they attack me?" you ask. "They think you me," he says. "Must leave quickly. Follow me. I take you to safe place." Here we go with our next set of choices. That was pretty awesome, that kung fu fighting. I'm glad we got to see some action. That's pretty badass that we tackled that spear carrier guy too, not giving a fuck. If you follow him, turn to page 61. If you decide to return to the hotel, turn to page 16. Man, this guy seems kind of legit, I'm not gonna lie. He's kicking everybody's ass. He seems quite convincing, but if I follow him, I don't know. This is my first time reading through this. But I definitely don't think we should go back to the hotel. If anything, they're waiting for me there. Although that dude did say that they thought that I was him somehow. So apparently he's either really short or he's 12 years old too. But if they thought that I was him, then that means they still don't have any idea who I am. So there's a good chance that they are unaware of where I'm staying or care about what I'm even doing anyways. So with that said, I'm actually going to decide to return to the hotel, and we're going to go to page 16. "Thank you so much for helping me, but I think I'll go back to the hotel," you tell the man. "Must leave quickly then. Men return with others. Maybe we meet again," he says, and bows. He disappears into the night. You hear a door creak open on the opposite side of the court. Without waiting to see who it is, you run out of the courtyard and keep running until your lungs feel as if they're about to burst. Finally, you stop to catch your breath. You walk down another side street that leads you back to Yangsu Road. Turn to page 27. It's dark when you get back to the hotel. You go up to your room, lock your door, and throw yourself down on your mattress. Just as you are wondering where to look for Billy next, you hear 3 sharp raps at your door. You cautiously walk to the door and open it a crack. A small Chinese girl with long black pigtails, dressed in faded blue jeans and a pink silk mandarin jacket, is standing there. She bows. "Please come with me," she says. Puzzled, you wonder where she came from. China sure is a land of mystery, you think. You hope this isn't a trick, because you need all the help you can get. You decide to go with the girl. Turn to page 35. You follow the girl down the stairs and out to the street. Now it's really dark. A few shops are dimly lit. Street lamps create widely spaced pools of light, about 1 to a block. The streets are still crowded, though not as much as during the day. The girl moves quickly, looking back every once in a while to make sure you're still behind her. You come to a river and cross a high, arching bridge that leads you into an even darker part of the city. You're beginning to wonder if going with the girl was a good idea after all. She could be leading you right into an ambush. You shudder at the thought and are about to run back to the main part of the city when the girl leads you into a small courtyard illuminated by a single small lantern. A door opens on the ground floor of one of the buildings and throws a shaft of light across the courtyard. An ancient-looking Chinese gentleman with a long, thin gray beard stands silhouetted in the doorway. "Ah, welcome to House of Yi Lung Tong, home and training ground for secret freedom fighters, enemies of ninja. I am your humble servant, Chang Li." He bows. "And this is my granddaughter, Ling." Ling also bows. You bow back, awkwardly. Turn to page 18. You follow Chang Li and Ling inside and down a long hallway paneled in dark, elaborately carved wood. Chang Li opens a wide door and leads you into a large room with red and green walls. In the center of the room is a circular dining table with large steaming bowls of food. More than a dozen people, men, women, and children, are seated around it. Chang Li points to some empty seats at the end. You, Chang Li, and Ling sit down at the table. "Very good food," he says. "We have steamed boa constrictor, fried ants, live baby eels, noodles, and for dessert, chilled monkey brains. Delicious!" He sits at the table and hungrily picks up a pair of chopsticks. You stare at the pot of squirming eels. "Ah, Mr. Li, perhaps I could have a peanut butter sandwich instead?" you ask, hoping you aren't being rude to your host, who is already wolfing down his food. "Sorry, no peanut butter," Chang Li says, happily munching his fried ants. He notices that you are not eating. "What's the matter? You not hungry? Food not good enough for you?" he asks, putting down his chopsticks and wiping a noodle off his chin. The rest of the people at the table stop eating. They all look at you. Turn to page 28. "It looks great," you say, trying to pick up a piece of boa constrictor with your chopsticks. "It's just that, I'm really worried because my friend has disappeared." "Eat now, talk later," Chang Li says, happily returning to his meal. You watch, horrified, as Chang Li sucks the insides out of a roasted beetle. He licks his lips and uses his sleeve to wipe the beetle leg off his chin. Your stomach is turning, but you manage to swallow 2 pieces of boa constrictor and 5 fried ants. After the others finish eating, you walk with Chang Li into a lotus blossom garden. Chang Li says, "Your life is like a blade of grass, pushing its way through the ground. The beginning will be met with much difficulty. Your life is now just beginning. You must grow and not lose hope. Then you will achieve your goal, just as the grass reaches the sun." Turn to page 21. "Excuse me, Mr. Li," you say. "I don't mean any disrespect, but could I cut the grass later? I just want to find my friend." You struggle to control your frustration. "Do you know where Billy is or not?" "Friend in Hong Kong," Chang Li says abruptly. "Hong Kong?" You stop walking in the garden, bewildered. "What? How did he get there? Who took?" "Ninja." The word bursts from Chang Li's mouth, as if he were spitting out a piece of rice stuck between his teeth. You stare, speechless, at Chang Li. "What should I do now, Mr. Li?" "Go to Hong Kong. Find friend." "Okay, excuse me, first of all, I don't mean any disrespect, but could I cut the grass later? Who would say something like that when an ancient-looking Chinese gentleman is spitting his wisdom at you? Billy would have ate that shit up. I would have ate that shit up at 12 years old. We were the wrong person to take on this trip. If you decide to go to Hong Kong, turn to page 10. If you decide to go back to the hotel, turn to page 104. Were we supposed to go like that night? Like, can we go tomorrow? I don't need Mr. Lee to be sending me on any wild goose chase. And plus, I'm not sure if I trust him. I think we should go back to the hotel and regroup, and turn to page 104. I'd rather go back to the hotel and wait to see if my friend shows up, you say. As you wish, Cheng Li says. Ling will see that you get back safely to the hotel, he says, bowing. Turn to page 108. So sorry that you don't follow honorable grandfather's advice, Ling says, after you and she reach your hotel. I would have liked to get to know American Visitor better, she bows, and leaves you wondering if you made a mistake in returning to the hotel. Turn to page 98. You lock yourself in your room and peek out through your window shade to see if anyone has been following you. The streets are dark and filled with shadows, but you don't see anyone watching the hotel. After you make sure that the window is securely locked, you push your bed against the door. That way, if someone tries to get into your room while you're sleeping, you'll feel the bed move. You take off your shoes and lie down on your bed with all your clothes on. You doze off. You awake with a start. There's a ninja in your room. You sit up in bed and feel the sweat trickling down your back. It was only a bad dream, you realize. You lie back down on the bed, but don't sleep very well. In the morning, you wash up and change your clothes. Sitting on the edge of your bed, you wonder what to do next. Bam! Some more choices. If you decide to go to the police, turn to page 84. If you decide to try to catch up to the tour, turn to page 85. We should have got these choices right away. These should have been our considerations right off the bat. Why did we not even go to the police to start off with? And we've already established that trying to go on the tour without our boy is bullshit. So we're gonna do what we should have done all along and go to the police. And we're gonna flip to page 84. You leave the hotel to go and find the police. You have a feeling that someone is watching and following you. You duck down a narrow alley. You take back streets until you get to the main street. Quickly you turn around. A man dressed in dark robes dives into a doorway. You quicken your pace and walk down the main street. You find a traffic cop and ask for directions to the nearest police station. At the police station, you approach the front desk. I'd like to talk to an investigator, please, you say to the officer at the front desk. It's about a missing person. One moment, please, the officer says. He has a short conversation on the phone. Inspector Chan will see you. Second door down the hall on the left. Turn to page 96. You find the door and knock on it. Come in, a voice says. Inspector Chan is a short man with a round bald head and a big smile that never seems to leave his face. Glad you finally get here. Been expecting you for a long time. You know who I am? We know you come to China with Fred, and now Fred missing. Many people missing who's supposed to be part of tour. We try following you to see if someone grabbed you too, but you keep giving us the slip. You mean that you've known all along that Billy is missing? You say, trying not to lose your temper. We know he is missing, but don't know where he is at. We hope you lead us to him. We use you as bait. Bait? You yell in protest. Bait to set trap, Inspector Chan continues. Somebody's snatching kids off streets. Must find out why kids getting kidnapped. We need you to help us. If you help them, you might end up missing, like Billy. On the other hand, you can't just leave Billy in China and go home. And here we go, some more choices. If you agree to be bait, turn to page 87. If you decide not to be bait, turn to page 89. Well, okay, we're in this now. This is the choice that we've made. I'm about to agree to be bait, and we're gonna turn to page 87. I'll do it, you say. I'll be your bait. Good, Chan says. Now there's no time to lose. Everything ready to go. Chan unrolls a large map of Shanghai onto his desk. He points to a spot near the center. This is Ruijin Street. My men already in position. All you do is walk down street. He reaches onto his desk and pulls out a camera attached to his shoulder strap. Wear this. Look more like tourist. You slip the strap over your shoulder. You leave police headquarters with Chan and take a police car to a corner near Ruijin Street. Just walk down street, Inspector Chan says, nudging you. My best man only little ways behind you, he says, pointing to a man in a long dark robe. It's the same man who was following you before. You walk down the crowded street. You stop to look at a few shops and buy a slice of melon. You almost reach the end of the block when someone suddenly reaches out of a doorway and pulls you inside. A smelly cloth is clamped over your nose. You black out. Turn to page 112. You wake up blurry-eyed in a hospital bed. A nurse is standing over you. As your eyes focus, you see Inspector Chan standing next to the nurse. The nurse says something to him in Chinese. She says you'll be okay, Inspector Chan says. Thanks to you, we catch a whole bunch of kidnappers. Follow them when they take you to secret hideout. Who were they? Why did they take me and Billy? You ask, sitting up in bed. Ninja. Ninja? You ask, incredulously. Why would Ninja want us? Ninja kidnap young kung fu fighters and then hypnotize. They train you to be assassin. You breathe a sigh of relief at your close call and look forward to flying home with Billy. The end. Alright, well that was an interesting turn of events. It seems like once I got it in my head that getting a hold of the police would be a good idea, this shit started rolling pretty quick. I'm glad I didn't listen to Mr. Lee, because he was talking about going all the way to Hong Kong, and I looked that shit up, and there's approximately 764 miles between Shanghai and Hong Kong, and that would have been bullshit. And there's no way that they would have taken me to Hong Kong as their secret hiding spot, because then they would have been out of the jurisdiction of the police. Plus, I don't think that chloroform would have kept me knocked out for that long of a trip. Either way, we found our boy Billy, and may this be a lesson to you. This book was obviously written before the Taken franchise kicked off, but may this be a lesson to you to make sure you do your research before traveling to another country, because this kidnapping shit does happen. Hell, you can get kidnapped from your own backyard, so just watch out in general. And I tell you right now that you won't be lucky enough to be abducted by ninjas. Chances are it would result in something far, far worse. So make sure you're taking care of each other. And with that said, you guys, if you enjoyed what you saw and heard here, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, have a good one.